Today's episode is brought to you by SoundCartel. SoundCartel. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Wouldn't it be easier if everyone communicated in the same way? There'd be less guessing and way more efficiency. But with different communication styles that we need to interpret and connect with, communication specialist Leah Mether says it's important for leaders and business owners to understand the big four: aggressive, passive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. Leah walks Chris Ashmore through each one, starting with aggressive.
So aggressive communication is I win, you lose. I want to be right. I consider my own needs and I don't really care what you think. I just want to get the job done. I can be quite quick. I can be a bit of a bulldozer. I'm not listening to other people and I'm the chronic interrupter. A lot of people think it's the loud, shouty, bully person. And it can be those things, but you can be unintentionally aggressive if you do always think you're right and do want to get your own way. So that's aggressive, putting your needs at the forefront. Passive communication is the flip. I lose, you win. I'm not going to put forward my thoughts, opinions and beliefs, and you can walk all over me. Maybe you do because you know you can, but maybe you walk all over me because you don't know I've got a strong opinion on something because I didn't speak up. Now, the passive communicators, yes, it can be the quiet, shy person, but you can be an extrovert and still be a passive communicator. You're the people person. You're the chronic people pleaser, I should say, the chronic apologizer, the person who just wants harmony all the time and goes with the flow. So you're putting other people's needs above you. And one of the challenges with passive is we expect other people to be mind readers. You should know what I'm thinking, Chris. You should magically know without me having to put that forward. So passive communication can cause big issues because you're not speaking up for yourself. Passive aggressive is my favourite to talk about because it's my least favourite to encounter, and it is rife in workplaces and personal relationships, I've got to say. Passive aggressive mirrors passive in that I won't tell you what's wrong with me. However, I will let you know. I will let you know through my actions and attitude. So I'm going to show you what's wrong. I'm not going to tell you, but I might huff around and give you the silent treatment. I might be very sarcastic. I might tell you the time of the meeting and give you the wrong time intentionally. So I'm not going to be upfront, but I will bitch behind your back. I will show you that I'm not happy without having the conversation. So this can be that real high school way of communicating, which sadly I see a lot of adults do, I've got to tell you, but it's that very high school way of communicating. Some people do it though because they've never been taught how to communicate, or they're intimidated by their boss and they want to speak up but they don't feel like they can. So they fall into this awkward middle ground. It can be that real cliquey behaviour too. Assertive communication is often misunderstood and it's often confused with aggressive, but the two are really actually very different. Assertive communication balances your needs with the other person's needs. So if I'm truly assertive, I will speak up, I will put forward my thoughts, opinions and beliefs, but I will do that in a calm and respectful way, and I might have an opinion on what's right, but I respect, Chris, that you've got an opinion on what's right, and those two things might be different, and that's okay. And we can have a very robust conversation and disagree with respect, but play the ball, not the person. And that's a quick snapshot of the difference between the four.
There's always a next step for your business. There's always help at every stage. As you grow your business, we're here to support you every step of the way. Move forward with Mazars. Visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.
For a boss then, who has to deal with these personality types, how do they communicate with each of these different styles?
Yeah, and on that, just a quick one. The communication style is different to your personality. Your personality is more fixed. A communication style can be changed. We can all work on improving, learning and developing our communication styles. And I argue that that's a really important thing to do. But so is knowing the communication styles of those around you, particularly if you are a leader. If you're a leader, you're trying to get people to follow you because they want to follow you. And yes, as a leader or as a boss, you will have your particular communication style, but it is a mistake to say, well, bad luck, this is who I am, this is how it is, everyone like it or lump it. If you want to get the best out of your people, you take notice and maybe even ask your people, how do they like to be communicated with? Because if you notice the different styles of your people, the best leaders, the best communicators adapt and adjust. It's not about changing who you are, being inauthentic and fake, but it is adapting. Now, if I am adapting and I'm communicating with someone who tends to have an aggressive style, I am making sure I am very regulated myself, that I am staying calm. Aggressive communicators are often a bit like a bull at a gate. They're quick. They just want to get the job done. So a red rag to a bull for an aggressive communicator is to talk in circles and to over-explain. That will drive them nuts and they'll probably say to you, get to the point. So if you know someone tends to be aggressive, do the thinking first. Know what your key message is so you can go into that conversation and be more direct and be more upfront and quick with your own communication because that's what they like. But absolutely stay calm. With a passive communicator, our passive communicators like processing time. It is such a mistake to think our quieter communicators don't have great ideas because they are often our deepest thinkers, but they're not necessarily going to speak up right there on the spot. So give them time, send out an agenda before a meeting so they can do the thinking first. And if you just pose a question like any questions in a meeting full of passive people, no one's asking a question. So you've got to build them up. You might say something like, hey, Chris, I know you've got great experience in this space and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this issue. You know, what's the number one action you think we should take? And if I approach a passive communicator like that, I build them up, I create the space for them to be able to talk, and I tell them why I value their opinion, they are more likely to contribute then. Or follow up with them afterwards. Outside of the meeting, they are more likely to speak one-on-one than in a group. Passive-aggressive, let's face it, hardest to deal with. Hardest to deal with because if you ask them what's wrong, they'll say nothing. Nothing's wrong. I'm fine. Whatever. Angry? I'm not angry. So this is a real challenge. My top advice when communicating with a passive-aggressive person is don't fall into being passive-aggressive yourself. It sucks you in like nothing else, passive-aggressive. So we really, again, have to regulate ourselves and then make it about the behaviour, not the person. So I might say, hey, Chris, I've noticed over the last few days that when I've asked a question of you, you haven't really answered me and you've turned and walked away. And I wanted to check in there. Is everything okay? Now, if you're very passive-aggressive, you'll probably say to me, I'm fine, Leah, to which I can respond and say, okay, so I hear what you're telling me, but your behaviour's telling me something else. So you've got to make it about the behaviour and also create an environment where they can feel like they can speak freely. Because, again, some people go into passive-aggressive because they feel like they're going to be punished if they really say what they think. The last one, assertive, this one is the easiest to communicate with because if you've got a truly assertive person within your team, and I'm talking not aggressive, again, remember that distinction, a truly assertive person is going to be the best at adapting and adjusting themselves. They will speak up and tell you what they think, but they will also be willing to listen. But their preference, assertive communicators do like direct communication, And they will be willing to rumble around an idea. They will be willing to disagree, to challenge, to throw forward different ideas and opinions. So you as the leader need to be willing to do that with an assertive person, to debate those ideas. But gee, it's worth doing, because you're going to get better outcomes if you actually allow an assertive communicator to be assertive with you. And remember though, if they're truly assertive, they're balancing their own needs with other people's needs. If they're not doing that, if they're always speaking up and not listening to others, they're not actually assertive, they're aggressive.
Is it important as a boss that I know which of those styles I have?
Absolutely. Self-awareness of your own style is crucial. And that's something that I see so often, that we don't have self-awareness, that we know our intention is to be a good boss or be a good communicator, and we judge ourselves by our intention. But the kicker is, other people aren't inside our heads. They don't know that we're necessarily well-intentioned. They just judge us by their perception and what they see. So it is absolutely crucial for you as a leader, you as a boss, to reflect and do some work learning about your own style, because that will impact your leadership and connection. We can all do better. Anyone listening to this podcast, no one is a perfect communicator. Everyone can improve. I don't care if you're the CEO of a global organisation or a small business owner in a regional area. No one gets this right all the time. Everyone can improve, me included. I've written a couple of books on it. I teach it for a living. I stuff it up all the time because I am human. So we have to start there, recognising our own communication patterns and styles so that we can better show up and lead our people.
That was communication specialist Leah Mether. Business Essentials Daily is a SoundCartel podcast. Producers are Nick Schildberger, Chris Ashmore, Jeff Waters and myself. Technical production by Pete Letts. I'm Nicole Goodman. Thanks for listening. We'll bring you more Be Daily next week. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.